Alright YouTube, today we have a really good example of some bad flux core welds and a poor fit up. And it seems like one of the most difficult automotive welding jobs seems to be exhaust, at least pertaining to flux core wire welding. In this video I want to show you a couple tricks to help your exhaust pipe fit together better, and a few common mistakes that people make when welding flux core with exhaust. So let's get started. So we just have this piece of exhaust pipe clamped in the bench vise for today. It'll be different if you're working underneath a car, but one of the big mistakes I see everybody makes not making square cuts. So today I'm just going to be using a reciprocating saw. It's just a standard DeWalt. And we're going to cut this as square and straight as possible. It's never going to be perfect with this method. You'll notice I slowed down in my cut towards the end. The next thing we got to do is clean everything up. You can weld through rust with flux core wire, but it's so much better to have a clean surface to weld to and to ground to. So what I have here is just a Chicago pneumatic air angle grinder. I believe an 80 grit sanding disc. You can pick up the arbors and even a grinder at Harbor Freight. So we're just going to clean everything up. If you have any sharp edges that you notice, it's always good to knock those off so you don't cut yourself. We're going to do the same thing to our other piece of pipe. I'm going to show you two different ways of doing this. This one, you'll see I cleaned some extra space out here. It's because I'm going to make a sleeve essentially. You would want to use like diameter material, maybe from a muffler shop or an auto parts store. But just for this video, I'm going to cut a sleeve out. Okay, I just have this is a very well used cutoff wheel, 3-inch from Tractor Supply. I think it's maybe a 1/16 inch blade. We're going to cut a slice out of this. Okay, as you can see, we've cut about a 1/4 inch slice out of here. We may have to take a little more, but the idea is so that it'll slide inside of our pipe. So we're going to have to take just a little bit more. So what we've done here is essentially just to make a sleeve so that when we join these two pieces of pipe back together, we have a backing to weld with. There is one caveat to this. Where you weld your material back together with this sleeve, water and condensation will want to hang in this area and rust your pipe out quicker. I'll show you another way to do it without it later in the video. So you definitely want to have a good ground. So right here's what seems to cause everybody problems. The most common flux core wire comes in 35 thousandths, and you see they're not giving us options for lighter gauge material. Our setting is 2 on the heat range and 20 for the wire feed, and that's for 16 gauge, and the next jump up's 11 gauge. So it's difficult to get the right heat setting with a lot of these hobby style welders, and what we're using is just a Hobart Handler 140. You go around to the front. That's old, and you know it's well used, but it gets the job done. Here's what we're using for wire. This is just the cheapest stuff you can buy. I think it was, you know, something inexpensive on the Amazon. The other thing, a lot of people make this mistake. You have to reverse the polarity. If your machine is MIG and flux, these wires get swapped around according to this chart here. And a lot of people make that mistake. So if you're doing flux core, it's DC, electrode negative. This is the other thing that messes a lot of people up with flux. This is called the stick out length. And that's how far the wire is from your welding nozzle. And you want it to be about 3/4 of an inch. If you're too close or too far away, that's where you start seeing wires hanging out and people blowing holes through stuff. So you want to maintain about 3/4 of an inch. So I just started with a few small tack welds, and I'm going to start with as much of the pipe as I can get to. So I'm just using this little, it's another Harbor Freight ear angle grinder with a wire brush. So you can see we've got an okay looking weld. I'd say it's acceptable for exhaust pipe. You got to remember that Flux probably is never going to look as pretty as MIG. So for anybody that stuck with me this long, I'm going to put a slice in this pipe real quick, show you how to weld it up in case you don't want to use the sleeve method. So I have, I guess, basically what would represent a loosely fitting butt joint. What I'm going to do is going to be the same as over here, except I'm going to turn my wire speed up just a little bit. So there, just to show you, you can do it even without a sleeve. You know, you can gap probably even an 1/8 inch if you take your time and don't go gung-ho and burn through. All you got to do is turn your wire feed up a little bit. All right, everybody, now we have some better fitting pipe and significantly better welds than what we started with. So I hope that helps someone out.